All right, everyone. So since we have a couple of new people, I'm going to do the 2-minute overview. So we're working with the nervous system in this work, which is very different from like when you're working out and you're pumping iron and you're trying to work with muscles. The nervous system does not like pain, and it will tighten up everything if you push. On the other hand, the nervous system does like pleasure. So as you do these movements, two things. Don't do anything that hurts. If you turn your head to here and you get an ow, then next time stop right before you think it's gonna twinge. And what will happen is you'll get much quicker change. The other thing is, so don't do anything that hurts. And the second thing is, the more you can make a movement yummy, pleasurable, feel good, the more you're going to get change. All right, so that's the first thing. The second thing that I want to say that's kind of important is the focus of your awareness. The more you pay attention, the more change you will get. So I actually have a whole exercise where we teach that, where you make identical movements on both sides, but you only concentrate on one side. And at the end of the exercise, one side is really different from the other. But we don't have time, so we won't do that this morning. The next thing I want to say, the final thing is, part of that paying attention is, I'm going to be dealing with 3 levels, so to speak. The first is feeling. What do you feel? What's the sensation of the mat against your skin? What's the sensation of your muscle as you make the movement, so on and so forth. The second level is sensing. That's proprioception. Where is your body in space? What do you sense about your body? And the third thing we're going to be paying attention to is what I call imaging. That means, what's the picture that you're forming in your head? These 3 lower bodies, so to speak, have a huge impact on one another. The more clearly you can image, the more you will create change. So having said all that, let's just get started. Good morning.
Good morning.
All righty, everybody lay on your mats. We're gonna begin with a brief body scan. So you're gonna lay on your mats with your legs extended flat. If you need to, for any reason, have the discomfort, you can bring your knees up. That's fine too. But if you can, lay comfortably for a minute or so, extend your legs. Let your arms be by your sides, palms flat, and maybe pick up your head a tiny bit, lengthen the back of your neck, setting your head squarely back down, and then relax. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, let your spine sink into the mat, imprinting. Do that once or twice. And then let's begin to notice just how our body is. What's the quality of the energy that you feel? Do you feel a lot of energy or not very much? Do you notice that you have more energy in some parts of you and other parts seem kind of invisible? Just notice. And then we're going to briefly sort of feel what parts of your body are touching the mat. Backs of your heels, perhaps, certain parts of the calf. Your buttocks. What parts of the back are touching? The shoulders. And then you can begin to notice, for example, what part of your heel can you feel touching the mat? And if you translate that into an image, what does that mean about the angle level of your feet. Image that if you can. Perhaps one foot is more rotated than the other. Perhaps your toes are pointing straight up the ceiling, or maybe they're out to the side. Just notice. And also try to sense how much distance you have between your heels. Is it a foot? Is it 6 inches? Is it 2 feet? Just notice. And when you think you have a clear sense of it, you can put your hands under your head, lift your head for just a second, and take a look down. And notice as you put your head back down, how clearly were you imaging? Did you get it right? Or were you exaggerating certain things? Just notice. Most of us don't have a very clear idea of what we're actually doing. So there's a way where we falsify our body image. And then going up the body, you can feel the weight on your buttocks. Do you have more weight on the left or the right? Or is it pretty even? You could also feel whether or not you have more weight down toward your tailbone or more up toward the top of the sacrum, top of the pelvis. Just notice. And then again, try to image that. So is your pelvis rolling to the right or the left, rotating in one way or another? Typically, the side where you feel more weight is going to be the direction in which you are rotating. But just notice. And then allowing your awareness to travel up a tiny bit. Try to sense how much space do you have between your lumbar back in the mat, and then you can also slide your fingers under it, checking both sides, and notice that. See if you can sense and feel where your spine is touching down and where it's not. So you should have a little arch in your lumbar spine. And then it touches down right where it joins the rib cage. You may or may not be doing that thing, but see if you can at least sense and maybe press the lower ribs into the mat a tiny bit and then release, and do that a couple of times. And that might give you a better feeling for where you actually are leaving the mat. If you have a tipped pelvis, you're going to have more space in the lumbar spine between that and the mat, and the bottom of your rib cage is maybe being dragged up a tiny bit. If you're tucking a bit, your whole spine might be on the mat, and the bottom of the rib cage should be firmly down. But just try to notice whatever's true for you. Then traveling up the mat, sensing and feeling. Is your spine going straight up toward your head? Is it maybe going a little to the right or the left? Just try to sense that. And you can also sense your shoulder blades as they're laying there. Are they equidistant from the spine, or is one further out or closer in? Do you have more weight on one or the other? If so, you're probably rotating your rib cage a little. Just try to notice. And as you get up toward the top of the rib cage, right where it joins the neck, is that part of you resting on the mat? Or is it being dragged up off the floor by your neck, which is most likely, to be honest? And take your fingers and check out that space behind your neck. And you can also palpate the very top of the spine, that big sort of vertebra right below where the neck starts. And notice, is it on the mat? Is it popping up? If you're not sure what's going on there, just place your hands on that largest vertebra and roll your head a little from side to side, just a tiny bit. And you'll feel, oh yeah, right, that's the neck. That's the rib cage.
Also, you might turn your fingers on the side and slide them beneath your neck in the mat. 1.5 to 2 fingers is pretty good. If you have more than that, you've got way too much tension in your neck. And then you can also take a moment and briefly consider your arms. Maybe bring your knees up at this stage so that you're not getting tired, and using your thigh muscles, lift your lower spine and then wrap the back of the pelvis, wrap, wrap, wrap. Just release any tension, then set it back down. And now just sense and feel your arms. Can you lay comfortably with your palms flat, your wrists pretty much on the mat, or is everything popping up? One thing you might do is pick up your elbows a tiny bit and put the pointy part out so it's pointing away from your sides. And then slide your shoulder blades down just a tiny bit, just maybe 1/4 of an inch. And just notice that makes it easier for your forearms and palms to be flat. And now we're going to really begin to work with the head, the neck. So start by rolling your head to the right as far as feels easy and comfortable. And then roll your head to the left, same thing. Do this once or twice, noticing if you have the same range of movement or if one side's maybe a little tighter than the other. And then stop and come back to the middle. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start with something that's called a trigger of release. It's a great way to quickly release your neck. And what you want to do is you're going to begin to roll your head from the side to side. But before you even start to turn, gently look right with your eyes. Put your tongue in your right cheek and then roll right. Look left with your eyes, tongue in the left cheek and roll left. Eyes right, head right. Eyes left, tongue left, head left. And just do that, rolling lightly from side to side across the back of your skull, leading with the eyes and the tongue. You can do this with your eyes open or closed, doesn't matter. Just be sure you're not straining. Sense and feel the way the neck is moving. How far down into the upper back can you feel that turning? Be sure your jaw is relaxed. Your teeth should not be touching. If your teeth are touching, your jaw is not relaxed. Then stop and let your tongue be soft, let your eyes relax. And imagine for a moment that you had a little hook right in the top of your head. And you're going to begin to do that same movement. You're going to roll from side to side. But now, instead of leading with the eyes, you're leading at the very top of the head. And just let your tongue do whatever it wants. Notice where do you feel that movement? Is it more toward the very top of the neck where it joins the back of the skull? Is it more toward the bottom where it joins the neck? Just notice. But concentrating on leading with the top of your head. And you should notice that you're rolling across the back of your head, but a little bit closer to the crown. Big muscle there, that occipital muscle. And then now I want you to shift your focus, still going from side to side lightly and easily, but imagining that you're leading with the very tip of your chin, as if your chin was drawing a semicircle in space. And notice now, where do you feel the turning? Should be more toward where the neck joins the rib cage, or you might even sense it a little bit below that point. And if you notice where you're rolling on the back of the skull, it's probably much lower down toward the base of the skull. And go back to leading with your eyes. This, of course, puts you sort of in the middle. Then come back to the middle and stop. Take a deep breath. Now, it's a fact that we have a big connection between our tongue and our eyes and our neck. And we're going to play with that for a moment. So first, let's image some of the anatomy. So you have your tongue, and your tongue is attached via some tendons onto a little tiny round muscle, which is right underneath the chin, the hyoid bone. Did I say muscle? I meant bone, sorry. The hyoid bone, right between in the middle of the horseshoe of the lower jaw. And take your tongue for a minute and stick it out, and then relax, and you'll feel it. And then relax, just let your tongue be soft. Now, hooking onto that little hyoid bone, which is like a platform, it goes all the way back to the inside of your cervical spine, your neck, right where it joins the skull. And so any tension in your tongue is going to really translate into your jaw and your neck. And so let's just loosen that up for a moment, that connection. So you're going to stick your tongue out for just a second, as far as you can, then let it come back and relax for a second. And do that about 20 times. Sense and feel the back of your neck, especially where it joins the skull. Then stop. Let your jaw relax, teeth apart. Let your tongue relax. Now, taking your tongue, put it in the outside of your upper teeth in the back, and then run it along the front of your teeth as if you wanted to lick something off them. Then go down to the right bottom teeth and go around licking those, the outside of them. And when you get to the back up to the top. So we're circling our tongue along the outside of the teeth. Try to keep your jaw relaxed. And then pause for a second and go back in the opposite direction. Then let your tongue relax. Let it be soft. Let your jaws relax. And then let's put our attention on the eyes for just a moment. So imagine your eyes and imagine that you're like a cartoon character. When you're startled, your eyes can pop out on little stalks. You look to the right, look to the left, and then pop back in and relax. So we're going to do that. So imagining that you could just pop your eyes out, right, left, and back. Relax. And out, right, left, and back. And do that maybe 20 times. Be sure you don't strain your eyes. If they get tired, rest. Notice as you're doing that, what's happening in the back of your neck. What are you doing with your shoulders? If you're unconsciously tensing them, let them relax. You don't need them for this movement. Are you tensing your breastbone? Interesting how a movement which is solely in the eyes can affect so many parts of your body. So when we wonder why our necks are tense, it can have a lot to do with our jaw, our tongue, our eyes, and looking at screens. Let your eyes soften, relax. You can stop moving them for a moment. And image they're sinking into the cushion of the eye muscles, those muscles at the back of the eye, hammock of the eye muscles. And then very gently circle the eyes in the socket, looking up, looking right, looking down, looking up, just circling the eyes. Keep your jaw soft. Relax your shoulders. Circle in the opposite direction. What do you feel at the back of the skull, the back of the neck? Just notice. And then stop, let your eyes relax and sink, relax your shoulders. Pick up your head a tiny bit, lengthen the back of your neck and set your head squarely back down. Now, once again, you're going to begin to roll your head to the right with your eyes soft, but as you do that, slide your right hand down toward your feet so that your shoulder moves out of the way of your chin. And then rolling your head left arm down, and right hand down toward the feet. Just do that rolling from side to side. Notice how you are powering the movement. For a lot of us, we tend to make that movement come from the top of the shoulder. Instead, I want you to sense and feel these muscles right at the bottom of the shoulder blade. And as your head rolls right, let that muscle push the arm down. And as you're going left, the left side pushes the arm down and your head just follows the movement. So you're powering it from your back muscles, not from the top of the shoulder, not from the levator. Let that movement be soft. Try to make it as pleasurable as possible. Even if that means making the movement smaller, that's fine. Image the way your shoulder blades are moving one up, one down, over the back of the rib cage. And as you're doing that, notice where in the back of your head are you rolling? Is it more toward the crown or more toward the base of the skull? And if you like, as you're making this movement, you can begin to tuck your chin a little so you move more toward the base of the skull, and just notice that. And stop. Let your shoulders relax. Maybe slide them down just a half an inch to make a little more room for your neck. And gently pick up your head, tucking your chin, lengthening the back of your neck, and setting your head back down. And let's play with that for a moment. So allow your chin to come up so you're sliding up toward the crown of your head. Notice how much arch you have in your neck. And slide down as far toward the base of your skull as you can. And notice that. You feel how your neck is flatter. Now, find the sweet spot for yourself. The sweet spot is as low as you can get without creating any sensation of tightness in your throat. So find out where that is for you. That's your sweet spot for the moment. Beautiful. Okay, now let your arms come straight up in the air with your palms facing each other as if you were holding a beach ball between your palms. And once again, using those muscles at the bottom of the shoulder blade, press the arms up as if you wanted to touch the ceiling with your fingers, and then release, boom, and let your shoulders drop back down, pushing up and release. So you're just reaching and then relaxing, and feel that soft tissue between the medial border of your shoulder blade and the spine, stretching as you go up and relaxing as you drop. And then each time you drop, you can maybe let your shoulder blades get a little wider apart. Your hands will actually maybe even go wider apart by an inch or so. And stop for a moment and bend your elbows and clasp your elbows with your fingertips. Or if it's easier, you can clasp your forearms just below the elbow and go with your elbow and your head rolling to the right, bringing your right elbow to the mat if you can without discomfort, and then back up to the middle. Now you're looking at the ceiling. Over to the left, left elbow down, head left. And just go from side to side. Bringing your elbow to the mat and if you need to make it easier, slide your hands a little further down. In this work, it's always better to try easier, not harder. You may notice if you've been doing exercise, mainstream exercise, or even yoga, that you have a tendency to want to push as far as you can. I would encourage you to not do that. Don't try harder, try easier. You'll get more change, believe me. Efforting is not your friend in this work. And then come back to the middle whenever you're ready. Let your arms float down by your sides, elbows out, palms as flat as you can without pushing it. And then using those muscles once again at the bottom of the shoulder blade, that's your lower trap and your latissimus dorsi. You're gonna push the shoulder blades down so that your arms are sliding down toward your feet. And you'll feel a little lovely stretch in the levator, which goes from the top inner corner of your shoulder blade up to the back of the skull. So press down and then release and let your shoulders just pop up whatever amount they like to go. Press down and release, down and release. So you're just sliding your arms up and down and feeling that yummy stretch in the top of the shoulder. Yeah, isn't that great? So when your levator is tight, what does it do? Well, it yanks your shoulder up toward your ears. It yanks the shoulder blade up toward the ears. So what we're doing now is just giving that a yummy stretch and playing around with the movement. How can you make it feel even better? Then stop for a moment and relax, letting your shoulder blades relax, your palms, your shoulders. And just for a moment, let both knees go to the right, coming onto the side of the leg if you can, then back to the middle and over to the left. Just going as far as feels good. Just kind of releasing the pelvis so that it doesn't get tight. Rolling across your butt, giving it a yummy massage, feeling the twist, that gentle twist of your lumbar spine, letting your head move freely. So as you, the knees go right, head right, knees left, head left. Feeling as the two ends of the spine, the cervical spine, your neck, the lumbar spine, that part of your spine with no ribs that attaches the rib cage to the pelvis, they're moving together. And in general, they tend to mimic each other. So if you have a big arch in your neck, you're going to have a big arch in your lumbar spine, and vice versa. And then come back to the middle, lift your head gently, lengthening the back of your neck, pick up your elbows, let them go out, point out to the sides, palms flat, shoulders down and relaxed. And let's go back to doing some movements. So let your head gently roll right while sliding your right hand down toward your feet. So you're going to contract that muscle, the lower trap, and then head left, left hand down. So one shoulder blade's going up while the other's going down. Your head's rolling lightly and easily from side to side. Be sure you're keeping the top of your shoulder relaxed. The movement should be coming from your back. By the way, if you're hearing any like little crunching sounds, don't be alarmed. That's quite typical when we're loosening things up. You may also hear little pops. That's just air releasing from between the vertebra joints. Let your jaw be soft. And then stop. Lift your head, lengthen in the back of your neck, letting your upper spine imprint into the mat, just sinking into the mat. And then we're going to do one of my favorite shoulder moves. So roll onto your right side. So you're laying on your right side, one knee on top of the other, one foot on top of the other, your knees bent. And let your right arm be sort of extended up above your head on the mat. And you can rest your head on top of it. Let your left hand resting on the mat somewhere close to your chest. And then we're going to start with just the neck. This is a really kind of a big neck movement though. So be gentle and only do what feels easy and good. So let your head roll down the surface of your arm until you bring your forehead onto the mat or the tip of your nose onto the mat. And then come back up, resting on the arm and roll down the backside. Your left hand is going to come up on its fingertips and you roll to look any amount over your left shoulder. Then roll back in, palm flat up, bend over the arm and down. Roll back up on the arm and roll to look over the left shoulder. Just do this very gently. And image the way your skull is rotating on the atlas, your top vertebra, which is actually like a little circle that your head rests on, and the back of your skull is wound into it by these little ligaments that attach it onto that circle. And the second vertebra has a little tiny knob that projects upward through that circle, and your head sits on it like a dashboard bobble toy. Be sure that you keep the movement comfortable. If you start to feel any tension, make it littler. The idea here is just to sense and feel the ability of the neck to rotate. Then come back up onto your arm and relax for a moment. Now this next movement, again, I want you to be careful of your neck and your head. So you might want to, if you need to, you can watch this. What you're going to do is you're going to slide that left palm out in a way. Your rib cage is going to roll on your belly. Your head is going to roll off the arm and maybe even onto the left cheek. And if you can actually press your armpit toward the mat a tiny bit. And then slide the hand back in, let your head roll back up onto your arm. And slide out. And your top knee is probably going to move a little bit out. That's fine. But try to keep the movement primarily in the rib cage and the neck. Sliding out. And back. Feel the way the shoulder blade slides away from the spine. Oh, that's so yummy. And then slides back as the arm and the shoulder blade become like a 180 degrees, a line. And then as you come back up onto your side, it's more like a right angle. Image the way that shoulder blade the shoulder are moving. If you had X-ray vision, what would you be seeing? Make another movement or so. And then come back and rest for a moment on your side. Maybe keeping your palm flat somewhere at chest height. Make some circles with your shoulders. So your arm's gonna go up toward your ear, then forward in front of your rib cage, then down toward your pelvis, and then back behind you. It's fine if your left hand comes up on the fingertips. Make those circles really luxurious, feeling the stretch in the neck. Oh, that feels so good. As you press down toward the pelvis, you get this length in the neck. As you press back, as you come back up. And then stop and relax again for a moment. And then you're gonna let your arm float straight up in the air. And if you're new to this movement, you might really want to watch what the camera shows, but you're gonna have your fingers pointing to the ceiling, your elbow straight, and then keeping your arm straight, unbent, you're gonna drop your shoulder blade onto the mat behind you. So your head's gonna roll off your arm and you're gonna be resting on the back of your skull. Your shoulder blade will be on the mat and your arm is straight up. Then you're gonna drop the arm out and roll your head to look at your left hand. So drop your arm straight out onto the floor and look toward that hand. And then finding that muscle at the left bottom of the shoulder blade, squeeze, let the arm float back up toward the ceiling, let your head be looking at the ceiling, and then using that same muscle, push off and go back onto your side. So it's shoulder blade down, looking at the ceiling, hand down, back of the hand onto the floor, looking at the hand, arm coming back up, shoulder blade up, shoulder blade down, arm up, shoulder blade up. Beautiful. So this is a very differentiated movement. And feel the way it's all coming from the back. Your arm is passive. Your head and your neck just follow along. It's sort of like a beautiful ballet movement almost. And feel how the top of the shoulder, the levator, is not doing any work. And just finish whatever movement you're on. And when you're ready, roll onto your back with your knees up. Using your thigh muscles, lift your lower spine, wrap it a few times, set it back down. Lift your head, lengthening the back of your neck, letting your arms be by your sides, elbows out, shoulders down, palms flat. And take a moment and sense and feel the left shoulder, the left side compared to the right. Which is clearer in your body image? It may even seem as if the left side is bigger somehow. Maybe it's laying a little more flat. Just notice. And then whenever you're ready, roll onto your left side with your left arm up, your head resting on your arm, one knee on top of the other, right hand palm down, somewhere close to your chest. And let's begin by doing that head movement. So you're gonna roll down, touching your forehead, and roll up and over the arm, looking any amount over the right shoulder, but don't strain. Roll back in, up, and over. Roll back out. Sense and feel the way the head is turning on the neck. Image, if you can, what it looks like. It's a very, very deep neck movement, so don't push. Maybe you're only moving, like if your neck is tight or you tweaked it, you might only move an inch. That's fine. And in a really dire case, when you cannot move without pain, don't move at all, but do the movement in your imagination. You will actually get change. And then just continue that for another moment or so. And then stop, resting. Now we're gonna do that shoulder movement, but we're gonna, for the interest of time, we're gonna do it kind of all in one piece. So sliding your right palm out, letting your head roll off your arm onto the right cheek, then sliding back in, letting the arm float up, straight in the air, shoulder blade down, arm up, shoulder blade up, and then bending the elbow, dropping the palm down by your chest, sliding it out, pulling it back in, arm floating up, shoulder blade down, arm up, shoulder blade up, palm flat, sliding out, sliding back, and so on. But really focus on imaging. What's the shoulder blade doing? Slides out, away from the spine, slides back in, arm up, sliding. As you drop it to the mat, it's sliding in across the rib cage to the spine. When I first visualized this, I realized I was imaging it like somehow it was popping off my rib cage. It was like an arch between the spine. Anyway, crazy. The more you can image accurately, the better a movement becomes and the more change you will create. Most of us are sort of like little children in their first attempts to draw people. They draw stick figures. And we tend to image ourselves in a similarly primitive fashion. We actually don't know what we're doing most of the time. Finish whatever movement you're on, roll onto your back, your knees up, using your thigh muscles, lift your lower spine, wrap it once or twice, set it back down, lift your head, lengthening the back of your neck, widening the space between your shoulder blades, letting your palms be flat. Elbows out, and take a moment imaging your shoulders, your neck, let your jaw be soft. Compare your shoulder girdle, which we've